Hello and welcome to EPR with your favorite environmental enthusiasts, Nic and Laura. On today's episode, Laura and I discuss counteroffers. We talk to Mehmet Secilmis about technical career advice, Turkish culture, and ecotourism. And finally, bananas are radioactive. Bananas have naturally high levels of potassium, and a small fraction of all potassium is radioactive. Don't worry though, you would need to eat about 100 bananas to receive the same amount of radiation exposure as you get in a typical day in the United States. So there you go. How about that?
Two things here. I'm getting radioactiveness in the US.
Yeah. You get natural, everybody, every day, there's natural radiation in the environment. So you get radiation from like UV and all that stuff.
Oh, is that different than UV or the same?
It's the same.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, radiation is radiation. Just that you can get it different ways. So if you eat 100 bananas, it's like you're outside for like 8 hours or something.
But I won't get tan.
No, unfortunately. I don't get tan anyway, by the way. This is also a curse of mine. So that was too much.
Might as well just eat bananas instead.
I might as well just eat, but well, I can't. I'm allergic. I'm allergic to bananas. How about that, everybody? Yeah. You know?
Freak of nature. That was our real and finally today. Nic is a freak of nature.
Yeah, there we go. The only person on the planet allergic to bananas. Here we go. Hit that music.
NAEP's next Advanced NEPA workshop will take place September 14th from 11 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The series of workshops is intended to provide participants with practical tips and tools about how to refine preparation and review of environmental documents prepared pursuant to the National Environmental Policy Act.
Hey.
These workshops introduce environmental professionals to best practices for NEPA compliance. The 8-hour intensive workshop has been organized into 6 topics. Head on over to learn more and register at naep.org. We appreciate all of our sponsors, and they're what keep the show going. If you'd like to sponsor the show, please head on over to environmentalprofessionalsradio.com and check out the sponsor form for details. Now let's get to our segment.
It's, like this stuff happens, right? We've talked about it on the show all the time where you make an offer and they accept, but then get a counteroffer from their company and stay. And so it's just this ring of emotions. Like, we finally found the person we want. No, we didn't, and it's interesting. We were having a debate about that practice, right? Where you decide to take the counteroffer from your existing company. It's what's known. It's maybe safer, but in my mind anyway, as somebody who's hiring, I'm like, okay, well, you didn't want to actually, if you really wanted to be here, you would be here. It's kind of like my first thought. But second, if I'm with somebody who wants to leave, I know they want to leave, they had an offer, then I'm like, okay, well, this person is going to leave at some point. So now I need to think about, how do we do this job without them? And some companies don't think that way. Some do, but it's kind of a weird dynamic. It's an interesting thing. Like I say, I think we've talked about it. You can't make a practice of doing that, right? Where you're like, oh, I'm leaving, give me more money. I'm leaving, give me more money. I'm leaving, give me more money. Sometimes it can be, I guess it could be a really good dialogue, a way for you to talk to your employer about, what the issues that you actually have. It's just, I don't, as an employer, love it if someone's like, hey, I'm about to leave. I haven't told you any reasons why I don't want to, but I'm gone. And you're like, wait a second, what? So I don't know. That's a lot to unpack, but go, Laura.
Well, first of all, 4 agreements. Don't take it personally.
Okay. I never do. It's business. It is.
Yeah. It is hard not to take it personally though, because and not like personally and like they did it to you, but just like, gosh, this sucks.
That's exactly it.
But I don't know. It's kind of the name of the game right now. So I think you just have to be prepared for it in some sense. And I think personally. So this is 2 sides, like you mentioned. There's the employee who is leaving their company or pretending to. And then there is the company that thinks they're getting a new hire who then goes back to where they were. So for the company that they're coming back and saying, oh, I got an offer for a job. Do you want me to stay here? How many times are you going to let somebody do this? I know another friend of mine who works in a consulting firm, and they've had an employee do this multiple times. And then you're setting expectations, right? You're like, how many times can this person get away with it? And are they going to just keep? And then you have the culture thing. How are other people perceiving this? now you're working with someone who's been here less time than everyone else, but they've finagled their way into a raise or promotion. And you're like, well, geez, should I be doing this too?
Right.
You know? And then you're also saying like making somebody feel maybe more valuable than they actually are. And that may cause some ego issues, not necessary in all cases, but it happens. So there's a lot of things to consider on the company side that brings them back. But for your side, you know, I think just in the hiring practice, looking for an A and a B, you know, who's our backup plan? Really nothing is set in stone until that person walks in the door. And even then, I have a lot of career coaches right now who are, you know, when it rains and pours, people will be looking for a job for 6 months. And then all of a sudden they get 3 offers in 1 week. You know, they're like, I'm never going to get a job. This is depressing, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, 3 people want me.
Right. Always,
you know, and they will literally like, do I start one? And then what if the other one comes in? Because there's always another one that they want more. Like, but what if this other one calls me?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I had somebody literally this week say, hey, can you be a reference for my job? I'm like, yeah, but also you should work for me. So apply to that and I would hire you immediately. So you're right. You're right. I didn't even know they were looking. So yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I don't take it personally. It just stinks. That's kind of the way to, it's like we have a plan. It would have been helpful. Would have been really helpful this week. I've had a really crazy busy one, but you know, it's just back to the drawing board, really.
Yeah. I think the other thing too, then is just like, well, I always look for the messages from the universe. This wasn't the right person. You know, you think, oh, it would have been great to have somebody, but maybe they would have been a nightmare, or maybe they would have left in 5 weeks instead of before they started. So, you know, think of it the flip side of like this. Maybe they saved you some trouble you can't even imagine didn't happen. You know.
Yeah, and I think it's another way to think about it too. It's just, you're totally right, and I think, but also maybe it's just not the right timing. Maybe the timing doesn't work this time, but it may in the future. You know, our business is pretty small, right? Like we know people that work, you know, in different companies all over the place. That, you know, they change companies, and then all of a sudden you're working for them or with them again.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of funny.
Maybe your company will buy their company, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Hey, this is awkward. How are you?"
Yeah. Remember that time that you didn't want to work with me? Remember that time? Remember that? I've forgotten. Water under the bridge.
I know this is a terrible but relatable example. Like if you meet someone, you kind of like them, and I've told you before, don't relate this to dating, but here I am doing it. Yeah. If the person, you're like, oh, you cheated on someone before, but I'm going to try dating you. And then they cheat on you too. You're like, crap, you know, it's in your nature. So maybe you hire somebody who's, you know, like this person comes back to you a year later and applies again. Do we offer you the job? I'm not so sure. So I think the people doing it need to realize too, that this is becomes part of your reputation. So yes, maybe once if it's really the right decision, but if you keep pulling this all the time, people will start to notice.
Yeah. And I think we've mentioned it too. Like the thing is though, like, you know, if you go back to the company that you're already working for, you have issues with the company, those don't go away just because you get more money. Like usually it's like, if that's usually what it is, right? It's usually like, oh, we'll pay you more to do the same thing. And if you want more responsibility, the more money will help for a little while, but it won't help long term. And so maybe you are looking again in 6 months. Maybe you are looking again in a year.
But that's a good point. I think the person making the switch needs to take the opportunity to really address not just the money, but maybe if it's the boss that they're working for is not working out right, can I be in a different division or, you know, like change the situation so that you aren't back in the same situation 6 months later with a little bit more money in your pocket, but still just as miserable.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, actually, because a lot of times people think that this is what I've been doing, so I can't do anything else, right? This is where I am in this group, so I can't do anything else. And you know, saying things like, oh, it'd be nice to do something else in the company. But what you really mean is, I want to do something else in the company. So you have to say that part first, because I have that happen sometimes. We're like, oh, it'd be nice to work with the team. Okay, well, do you want to work with them, or you just think it'd be neat? Because those are two different things. And you know, you might not know. Yeah. But you get to a point in your career where you're like, okay, I need to do something different. Talk to your bosses. You know, it's like, if they're good bosses, they're not going to be, you know, furious with you for wanting to do something different. That's okay. People change. You start to understand, especially when you're younger, you got like, this is what I actually like. You know, okay, I don't really like this part of the job. I like that. How can I do that?
And that's a whole conversation for another day. Just like accepting that we are supposed to grow and change, where we have this perception of like, oh my God, someone's changing. What's wrong with them? Or
Growth over time, ridiculous. Yeah, I know it.
Yeah. So, so what did you do? Did you start the hiring process all over again? Did you ask your second choice?
Well, it's funny. The applications we've been getting, we're not going to just take our second choice if they're not actually going to work. And so our second choice right now is just not really our choice. So it's kind of back to the drawing board, like, almost literally, but it'll happen. I'm not stressing about it too much. It would be nice if it was now, but it's also at least in our industry, this is the blitz. So this is where everybody's super swamped and super busy. So it probably won't happen again. People won't be really looking to move until after September. So, it's not the end of the world on our end, but it would have been nice. But yeah, it's all good.
All right. Well, you heard Dawson is hiring, and let's get to our interview.
Cool.
Welcome back to EPR. Okay, today we have Mehmet Secilmis on the show. Mehmet is Global Account Manager with Esri's Architecture, Engineering, Construction, and Environmental Practice Team. Welcome, Mehmet.
Thank you.
It's really great to have you here, and we are just happy to have Esri supporting sciences the way that they do, and especially environmental sciences. So why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about your role with Esri?
Thank you for inviting me to speak here. I work with Esri's Architecture, Engineering, and Construction Environmental Practice. It is within the business development. And it's been almost 6 years at Esri. I work as a global account manager. I work with engineering and environmental firms. As you may know, Esri is Environmental Systems Research Institute. So it started as a research company in environmental field. So that's why Esri's products and solutions are helping environmental challenges and providing solutions there.
Awesome. And you work in the AEC division, which we talked about. What kind of work do they do there?
So at Esri, we have business development and account management working with the customers. And we have professional services, we have product management, we have product engineering, software development, tech support, and training. So multiple divisions. So within the business development division, we have different sectors in federal government, local, state, commercial, multiple sectors. One of the commercial sectors called AEC, Architecture, Engineering, and Construction, which includes environmental. So we focus on the companies, organizations within that sector. So our focus is working with engineering, construction, and environmental companies there, supporting them with their use of GIS, geospatial technology, helping them solve their problems with this technology and be efficient and productive companies.
Awesome. And then, so you got your Master's of Science in Environmental Technology, which I didn't really even know was a thing in the late 90s. How did you get into that so early on? And then what did you hope to do with that degree?
Yeah, good question there. I got my bachelor's degree in chemistry from Turkey. So I was born and raised in Turkey, got a degree in chemistry, graduated, moved to US. My father used to live in US in New York. So when I came to US, I wanted to study something for my master's degree, but I did not want to work in the lab as a chemist. So I said, let me do something different. But I didn't want to lose my science background. I wanted to use it for my degree. I was looking for degrees, which one I should pick. And I found environmental field very attractive. They needed more people in the field. And I was looking for degrees, and I found environmental engineering, environmental science, environmental studies, and I found this degree, environmental technology. And I liked it. I love technology, use of technology. And this degree included some engineering, some science, and some technology. So I loved it. So I said, this is practical. It will help me get the work and learn the profession. So I applied and accepted and then completed the degree. I loved it.
Awesome. Very cool. What kind of classes were they teaching you back then?
So it was some typical engineering, the water wastewater treatment plant design, to environmental science, contamination, remediation, ecology, and natural resources type. Interestingly, one of the courses I took was Introduction to GIS, Geographic Information, where I started my career built on that. So it included different types of classes from different areas. So it gave me a broad experience and perspective.
Very cool. And then how did you walk us from how you got from your degree and your entry to GIS to working at Esri.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, almost 20 years. So when I was doing my master's degree, I was working for an engineering services company as an engineering inspector, doing inspections, soil, concrete, asphalt inspections, 3.5 years in the field, all day in the field. I was doing my master's, and daytime I was doing that job. And I graduated with the degree in environmental technology. I applied for jobs. I got a job offer from an engineering firm as an environmental engineer. And I started doing environmental engineering work. Typically, the new graduates did like phase 1, phase 2 environmental site assessments, report writing, data collection, sampling. And I worked on transportation projects, helping with report writing and also field work. Then I worked for that company for 11 years. And what I did is interesting, one day within my first 2 years, I was talking to my boss. I said, hey, there's this technology called GIS, and we should be using more and more. And I was told, okay, here you go. You start and grow it.
Nice.
So I started using it, started growing it, learning more and more. I went back to school, took additional courses of GIS. And within my career there, maybe first half was more environmental heavy. The second half was more GIS heavy, so more GIS work projects. And I had started visiting other offices, talking about how they can use GIS in environmental and civil projects. So GIS became my expertise. Later on, I became certified GIS. I got my GISP certification. And then I wanted to study more, and I wanted to understand the business side of the things. So I went back to school, studied management with a concentration of management of technology with GIS in mind. So this has been my second master's, 10 years after my first. So I liked that program. I learned a lot from there. And then I did other things. And my father got sick in Turkey. I moved there for a couple of years. So I worked on research projects, and I was working for a distributor of Esri in Turkey.
Okay.
And then I found out about this group being formed at Esri, the AEC sector group. And I applied, and they offered me a job. And I moved back to US, to Texas, San Antonio, Texas. So it's been 6 years working for Esri happily.
Awesome. Sounds like you were just made for that career.
Thank you.
Oh, tell us a little bit more about the GISP. What did that involve, and how does someone get that? Do you need a lot of experience first, or is there a in-training version?
At the time, there was no exam requirement. They would review your experience, education, the background, contribution. Based on your profile, they would approve you. So I saw that and I applied. They qualified me with my background, and I got certified. And since then, I've been renewing it. So I think it's becoming more popular last maybe 5 years, 10 years, because more people are looking for a certification. And I think it's been a good certification to have.
Great. And then I appreciate you summarizing almost 20 years of experience in just a few seconds. But you also spent some time doing ecotourism. That's very
correct.
exciting. What did you do?
Yeah, interesting career, right? So switching from chemistry to materials inspection to environmental engineering, GIS, ecotourism. So when I completed my degree in management, so I said I should use this degree to do with the business, so real business. And at the time, I had a friend in Turkey from a tour company, travel tour company, and we started a business, a tour business. And since I do come from an environmental background, I wanted to start in ecotourism, nature tourism, not just typical historical or beach tourism. So I started that, and I loved it. I was visiting places in the US, presenting, attending travel fairs, travel shows, and visiting different places in Turkey, and taking groups with me sometimes, and organizing tours and even mapping where they should be going.
Nice.
So it's been a good journey for me. Then things started getting bad in the Middle East with the uprising, with the Arab Spring, and it started impacting Turkey's tourism. So things started going bad. And and my father got sick and I moved to Turkey and I stopped the ecotourism business and I went back to environmental and GIS work.
Awesome. Do you still go on like eco vacations?
I do actually. So after doing that work, ecotourism work for 2 years, so I got a habit of visiting natural places, taking lots of photos, videos, and hiking, biking, and sharing with my friends and connections.
Nice. All of those years of going back and forth, and you didn't realize, it doesn't sound like you went back and forth necessarily, but just exploring different opportunities. What kind of advice do you have for young professionals who are looking to get into technical environmental positions, whether they're GIS or other technical fields?
Good question. So I've changed careers, jobs, and multiple times. I think there are a few things I would recommend. So one is be open to change. So things are changing fast, technology is changing, requirements and policies are changing. Being open to change will help in the career. And learning is an important aspect. Always be learning, because you need to show that you're learning and applying in your job, and then be successful in your career. And taking initiatives, like I did at the time, and using GIS in projects and using it more. So taking initiatives help. It could be technical perspective, taking initiatives on a technical subject or a software or a technology or new initiative. And seeing opportunities in difficulties is important, because the pessimists see the difficulty in opportunity and optimists see the opportunity in difficulty. So there's always opportunities in difficulties, challenging positions and projects. So I think we should see the opportunity there.
Yeah, absolutely.
One other thing is like volunteering and getting involved in professional organizations. You learn a lot from others from volunteering, like NAEP, National Association of Environmental Professionals, and GIS organizations, URISA, we used to have GITA, GITA, and others. And local organizations, I was a member of a city environmental commission in my city, environmental commission member. So learning there, using your experience helps a lot. And using social media actively helps a lot. You learn from others, you share your experiences, and that's been very helpful for me. And maybe lastly, focusing on transferable skills instead of only technical skills. Transferable skills will help you become more successful and also switch from one career to the other. So including communication, teamwork, project management, report writing, things like that will help you leverage your experience and use it in a different career, in a different position.
Awesome. That is all really good advice. In thinking about transferable skills, I find that young people have a hard time identifying what their transferable skills are. Even though you just listed them, they still have a hard time like saying I have, because they don't necessarily have project management skills, but maybe they have actually been doing that. They just don't know that that's what project management technically is. In looking back at your career, and I know I'm putting you on the spot here, are there some activities or experiences you were having that you would have learned after the fact that those were transferable skills?
Yes, actually, now I look at back and think about it. So in environmental engineering and science, data is important. So data analysis, understanding data is important. I think data analysis can be even called like transferable skill. You need to analyze data in engineering, science, and other professions. And also presenting your ideas. Like, I don't want to call it selling, but selling your ideas, presenting it, convincing. I think those are important skills to have, even if you're a technical person. So you should always be talking about your project, what you did, and selling what you've done, and maybe promoting what you've done. I think those skills are important. And I think there are some articles about it, like 7 transferable skills, 10 transferable skills. I think they list them. I think we can maybe even discuss that, like which ones are transferable skills, which ones are not.
Right. Excellent. That's all really good advice. And so I'm glad to hear that you are also a mentor and you're part of the URISA Vanguard Cabinet Young Professionals Mentoring Program. What is their mission and why do you work with them?
So I've seen others in my network being mentors. And I noticed them, they're helping young professionals, especially in GIS profession. In my early career, I had mentors help me in my career. So from the company I worked for to outside of that company and other places. So I've seen the impact in my career. So I decided to give back. So giving back to me includes volunteering, getting involved in professional organizations, and also mentoring others. So I see young professionals, especially on social media, on LinkedIn, they're reaching out to me, to others to get advice. What should I do? How do I move? Where do I go for my master's or my certification? So I've been helping, but not formally. So I saw this EURESA program, which is organized and effective. So I said, okay, let me join. And they accepted me. And I started being a mentor there. So, and I think this program is effective, and anybody interested in getting help, they should reach out to this program.
Fantastic. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about your work. I know that
Yes.
Even though Nic isn't here, he wants to hear about your work too. So always try to do our best to make him jealous when he can't make it. What is one of the most memorable projects you've ever worked on?
So throughout my career, last 20 years, I worked on multiple projects. The one I did worked on a research project in Turkey. It's called Desertification Risk Map of Turkey. So when you think about Turkey, it's not in the desert area. It's not in Sahara or anything. So you wouldn't think that desertification is happening, but it is happening. And it was a research project with professors, environmental and GIS professionals, the team. We worked on for 2 years, almost 2 years there, and came up with a risk map using GIS technology and mainly ArcGIS technology of Esri. So it was an interesting project. We did modeling, we did work on assessments, analysis, and field verification going into the field. And it's been a very good project for me. And I learned a lot about different aspects of climate change and land degradation and desertification. I learned a lot from the professors I work with and colleagues, other professionals I work with. It was an interesting project. And I was also doing some studies, graduate studies, and one of the courses I was taking was decision support expert tools. And I used Esri's Survey 123 for ArcGIS as a tool to come up with desertification survey expert tool. So it was a simple tool using a model. So we can go anywhere and start entering data and find the risk of that site from the desertification perspective. So I think this project has been the most memorable I remember. And I had other projects that I worked on when I was in New Jersey. Maybe I would say the big transportation projects include lots of environmental aspect, lots of alternatives in one project. There were 26 alternatives to a highway interchange. Wow. So reducing it to 5 and studying it, reducing it to 1 was challenging. And we worked on that project and with the help of GIS technology. So it's been almost 8-10 years. It took that project, but it was a big project where so much technology used and there were so many disciplines. So I love those complex projects, actually.
Awesome. When you're working now in your current division with Esri and advising companies on implementing their GIS, what do you see as their biggest challenges and obstacles?
When I started learning, it was mapping.
Yeah.
So it was simple. It was desktop mapping. So we were the map guys, map people. So it was okay. When they needed a map, beautiful map, they would come to us. Hey, can you make this map? Can you show this on the map? Like similar to like CAD people, like they were drawing.
Sure.
We're like the GIS people. But then it evolved a lot. It changed a lot. So from desktop mapping to online mapping, server and enterprise mapping, like the organization-wide. And so many extensions came on board and also so many solutions, apps. So there are now solutions, apps for field data collection. So field maps, Survey 123, Quick Capture, and others. There are maps for desktop analysis. There are apps for other things. So for many professionals, there are solutions. So it evolved. So it has become like a big technology and very important for engineering and environmental firms. But some engineering and environmental firms, they still see GIS as mapping software, simple mapping software, which is used like tiny. In every project report, you use a couple figures, couple maps. So it went beyond, it's used everywhere now, integrated with so many things, including CAD, BIM, including project scheduling, project management software. So integration has been critical. So it's everywhere. Sometimes you don't even see that it's GIS. It's there. It's a solution.
Right. So I guess you're saying one of the biggest challenges is really just even seeing how this software can come in and solve your problems in different ways.
Definitely. How it can help you, how it will show the value. So that's why, like, as a team, what we do is like we have solution engineers, solution architects. Let's come and help you. Let's talk about it. It's not selling. It's talking about your challenges, your needs. Let's talk about how GIS, geospatial technology can help you.
Right. So you've become not a mapping company, but a solutions company, right?
Correct. So now we're more using geospatial, like a bigger umbrella, geospatial, location intelligence, location analytics. Yeah, solution company, definitely.
Super exciting. And you've talked about living in a bunch of different places. And so Nic and I love to travel and are always interested in to know what are your favorite places you've lived or traveled to?
Good question. So I lived until I graduated college in Turkey, 2 different cities, and then moved to New York, lived there for 5 years, then New Jersey for 12 years, and then Texas, San Antonio, Texas for almost 6 years. Turkey's climate and weather in New York, New Jersey is a little bit similar, even though humidity is high in New York, New Jersey area because of the ocean, but it's almost similar. You see 4 seasons. So full winter, full summer, but in Texas, you don't see the winter. You skip the winter almost. And like it's mostly like summer, spring, and fall. So I still miss wintertime snow, but not 3-4 months of snow. I would say, so that's the part I love about Texas is good weather throughout the year. Sometimes it's too hot in the summer, but you don't worry about the bad weather, the snow and shoveling of your driveway and getting stuck on the road and things like that. But still miss playing with the snow and snowman.
You're welcome to come visit me in Syracuse for 6 months of the year to get your fix on that. Personal question, visiting Turkey. I know my uncle actually lived there for a little while.
Okay.
But say I was going to visit for my first time, where would I go?
All right. Now you are taking me back to my 2 years of tourism time, ecotourism time. So depending on how much time you have, how much time would you have?
I usually have 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. So 2-3 weeks is a good time. Long time to visit places. So depending on what you like, do you like historical places, big cities, or natural areas, or if you want a combination?
I like it all. That's why I go for 3 weeks.
Yeah. So 3 weeks, it can include a lot. So if I would provide you a travel plan for 3 weeks, so I would start with Istanbul, like about 4 days. So visiting historical sites, boat tour, visiting Bosphorus, visiting the Anatolian and European side, Asian and European side, spend at least 4, maybe 5 days there, so minimum. Then you start traveling, I don't know if you remember the map of Turkey, traveling south and visiting the cities along the way, like the city of Bursa in the middle, and visiting the historical sites there, and then going to Izmir and visiting a historical city called Ephesus, ancient Greek city there. And there's some natural lands there. I don't know if you heard the name Ephesus.
I haven't before.
Yeah. Actually, before there, there's another place called Troy. Did you watch the movie Troy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you go there first. And you visit and see that horse, the wooden horse.
Oh, yep. Okay.
But then you go south to Izmir, Ephesus area. And along the Aegean Sea, you see so many ancient sites, ancient cities. So you visit them and you visit a natural place called Pamukkale Cotton Castle. So you visit that. That's a natural wonder of Turkey. And Antalya in the south. And then I recommend going to the central Turkey, where the region called Cappadocia. So the fairy chimneys, underground cities, natural formation, rock formations. So at one point, thousands of people lived underground. So 6 levels of underground cities.
What?
So yeah, if you don't have fear going down, so you should visit those underground cities and natural rock formations. Then if you're into some spiritual, you would visit the city of Konya, where and Sufism, the dervishes and Rumi, where it started. And you can go to the capital city, Ankara. And then I would suggest for natural areas, I would suggest going to the Black Sea region. So beautiful, green, and high plateaus, nice natural areas. And actually, I have a video. We took a group for 4 days. They loved it. They like hiking in the high plateaus and those natural areas. I think, and if you have more time left, you can visit someplace in the east.
I love it. That sounds like a wonderful trip.
Let me know. I can put together a map for you.
All right. We have this on record. I'm going to make this happen. Sounds great. Now it's time for Field Notes, where we ask our guests for memorable moments in the field. And you used to be an asbestos inspector. So tell us a little bit about that and any special experiences you had doing that.
Yes. So when I said be open to change, so I meant it like, so even though I started working as an environmental engineer, doing phase 1, phase 2 assessments, field work, report writing. So we had projects that required certified asbestos inspectors and lead paint inspectors. So mold inspectors sometimes. So I didn't get into mold yet at the time, but those are the areas like project requires that you have somebody certified. So I got training, I got certified to inspect asbestos containing materials and sampling them. So I was doing it for projects. And then what we did is we sampled it, we inspected, sampled it, sent it to the lab, and put together and write a report. And we had one project in New York City. It was a subway renovation project where they were renovating some buildings above subway at the ground level. And we're inspecting buildings below grade, and like 3-4 floors down. And with a team of asbestos inspectors, we were visiting everywhere. And, those buildings had restaurants in the past. So you would see some small animals there. So it's interesting. It was like, even though we had masks, like strong for asbestos and air purifying masks, we would see a lot of animals like creatures and rats. Remember at one point, so we had a team of inspectors and we heard a screaming about, hey, help me out. I was cornered by the rats.
Oh, no.
That was an interesting moment of my field experience.
How did you get him uncornered or her uncornered from rats?
Well, we just helped him, went there and moved the rats away and rescued him, actually.
Yeah, that does sound like the stuff of nightmares. We also like to ask our guests what they do for fun. And we just talked about Turkey for so long. You also play the stringed instrument called a saz. Is that right?
Yes. So it's a saz, S-A-Z, but saz is a name for many instruments, string instruments. And in Turkey, it's also called bağlama. Bağlama is a specific saz that we play. And in central Turkey, a lot of people play this. I used to hear it. My father used to play. My uncle plays. Many of my relatives play this instrument. And I always wanted to play, but I didn't have time. So when I moved to Texas, I had some time to practice it. And I ordered one from Turkey and I got it and I started learning. I took some online courses, but not a lot. And it was mostly self-learning. And when you said recommend, what is your recommendations professionally? I also recommend playing an instrument, being involved in music to environmental engineers professionals, because it helps a lot spiritually and getting away from your stress and refreshing yourself. It helps a lot. So I've been playing this. I'm not professional, but I like playing the songs I like. So it's been helpful. I've been meeting with friends who play other instruments like oud and kanun and others. So I sometimes join groups to play together.
Cool.
And actually, I encourage my son, who's 15, to learn. And
Nice.
He's been taking saz classes, and now he's doing better than I do. So learning at a young age, you do learn faster and you do better. So we love it.
That's awesome. Do you play well enough to let us hear what it sounds like?
Yeah, I can try. Let me grab it here.
Awesome.
Now, if you hear the sound, hear it?
Yes, love it.
All right, so I'll play a short version of a song called Leylim Ley. So it's famous in Turkey, so I'll just play part of that.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
I love the sound of that.
Thank you.
Oh, that's so awesome, though. I love that sound.
Thank you. And you'll hear this a lot when you visit Turkey.
Oh, I bet. I listened to I don't know if they're a punk band. They're called Gogol Bordello. They play instruments kind of like that in there sometimes. Okay, so second hobby and important follow-up. Do you have names for your chickens?
Yes, interestingly, I love chickens because they're environmental animals. So the reason that I say is, there's a lot of waste, food waste at a typical home. And chickens love food, any food, vegetables, meat, anything they eat. So I would say I started with 6 chickens and my food waste went down quite a bit. They're environmental animals. And in return, they provide eggs and also fertilizer, manure. So they provide things in return valuable too. So we had 6 chickens and 2 of them died. And we have 3 now. We named them all. Like I have 3 kids, me and my wife, and my mother lives with me, and 1 for each family member. We had chickens and we gave them names, and only 2 of them made it after the first year. But yeah, we do have names for our chickens.
What are they?
Interesting names. We have one, it's Turkish names, and we call it like in English, soil. One is called Soil. One is, we named it Star because the color of the feathers like the shiny, like light yellow. So we call that chicken Star. And another one, my daughter named it My Love.
Oh,
yeah, very, very nice chicken, like playing nice. And she called it My Love.
Awesome. I love that. It has been great chatting with you and getting to know you a little better, but we are getting towards the end of our time. Is there anything else you wanted to chat about before we let you go?
Yes. So for young professionals, environmental or technical professionals, I emphasize the importance of learning. So I don't know if you heard about 7-20-10 rule, or model for learning and development. It is like individuals, people learn of their knowledge 70% from their job-related experience, 20% interactions learning from others, and 10% from formal education. So I emphasize that 20% learning from others, because you are doing your job, you should be learning. If you're not doing your job, you shouldn't be there.
Right.
So, and 10% is formal, your formal education and training. You can do those, but 20% learning from others is important. So platforms like NAEP organization. Other organizations provide that platform. Conferences provide that platform, webinars, different events, and also social media, networking with people and learning from their experiences. Even just asking a simple question, which way should I go in this situation? So learning from others is important within your organization and outside. I think we should focus on that to learn more from others. So that's why mentoring helps. There are mentors out there. So I think learning from others is important. And I would say that using social media has been very helpful, and we should be connected. So not just the professionals within your focus. If you're an environmental scientist, don't just meet and network with environmental scientists. Meet with others, connect with other professionals, the policymakers, maybe planners, the technology gurus, and others. And make yourself open to change, to learn different things from others.
Awesome. That is great final advice. And lastly, where can people find you?
So I'm a heavy LinkedIn user. So I have over 4,000 followers, and anybody can request to connect with me on LinkedIn. And also I'm using Twitter. You can find me at Mehmet, my name, and _GIS there at Twitter. And LinkedIn, just Google, LinkedIn, search my name and Mehmet Secilmis. It's there. You'll find me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been great. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
And that's our show. Thank you, Mehmet, for joining us today. Please be sure to check us out each and every Friday. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. See you, everybody.
Bye.